Hey guys, it's our first time taking the Catalyst conversations to a video format, and it's also my first time in front of the camera, so bear with me. We have my friend Svilen Pavlov here, who accepted our invitation. Thank you for that. He's been in the industry for more than 10 years. He's been on the merchant side. Bringing volumes to 100 million and above, multi-level PSP setups. He's seen everything. Now he's in pay model. He helps iGaming and FX operators scale their business to a high level extent. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. How are you?
That's fine. Really good. You've been on both sides. What's the biggest disconnect you still see between the PSP and the market?
Well, I still see a lot of the PSPs, and I'll be speaking from like my point of view for the past close 10 years. Uh, we've been expecting that more of the PSPs will be proactive and not reactive, and that is a kind of the biggest disconnect I've seen when it comes to maybe maintenance is not being properly conveyed to us, or maybe the approval rates going down, and we'll have to figure that out on our own without our partners, or they'll just chime in from time to time, which is again not ideal. Just a lot of the PSPs were just providing the infrastructure and not acting as an actual partner of ours. I think that's one of the main disconnects that I've seen in the past number of years.
Hmm. So basically, they you onboard the merchants and they say, "Hey, they give you the myths and you know help yourself."
Not exactly, but so a pet peeve I have throughout those years is with a lot of the account managers, because usually account managers will have to help you improve performance, just help throughout the whole relationship. Whereas a lot of the account managers, maybe because they're overworked or they have a lot of on their portfolio, I'm guessing, they don't have the time to deal on a day-to-day basis with most of their merchants. And whenever I was having some questions or wanted to have discussions about commercials or approving acceptance rates, so on, it's a lot of different sections here. Uh, they will not be as helpful as I would expect, even though I was providing all details and I was conveying the proper information to them. So I don't think it's their fault per se. It's just the amount of work that they have on a day-to-day basis might be overwhelming.
Interesting,
Mhm.
interesting point. You've built multi PSP dynamics setups that work.
Mhm.
So how do you decide whether to bring a new one into the setup or just build on what you currently have?
I always started with the data first. I'll go and look at the data and really dig down to see what's working and what could be improved. Because usually you want to work uh, first on what you already have. It's much cheaper, it's much faster to optimize what you currently have within your payment setup. So if I see that everything is optimized to the best of our abilities and there is no more operational stuff that we need to work on or any more integrational stuff that we need to work on, then I'll go external and I'll start looking into adding more. Of course, that goes without saying that we also need redundancies. So it really depends on the market and which payment methods are the most popular in those markets. I would always say that you need at least two, and it really depends on how big the merchant is. If it's a startup, it's going to be completely different than an established PSP that's been around, established merchant that's been around for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, and the volumes that are coming in. So there's a lot of factors that you need to take into account when deciding if you need to bring a new one in, a new PSP in. But let's say you're a medium merchant that is doing anywhere, I would say between, let's say 1 and 5 million per month. You'll definitely need a number of different solutions being added just to have redundancies. Just from the get-go, you need redundancies because I'm currently seeing being on the payment sales side, and I've seen that while I was doing competitor research back when I was on the merchant side. People don't really have redundancies. Merchants don't have redundancies, and they're being pretty reactive. So when there's a fire, they'll start putting out the fire, but there's nothing to substitute it with. They have no plan B, no plan C. And if you're doing anywhere like between 1 and 5 million, you definitely need plan B and most probably plan C.
Do you think they're getting more proactive recently, or has anything changed in your view?
I think more and more people were burned before of those unfortunate situations where somebody will close your mitts and then you need to scramble and figure out, oh, I'm going to accept cards tomorrow. And we all know that getting a onboarding by acquirer, it will take a couple of weeks or maybe a month. Then you need to integrate. And it really depends on your setup for integration. It could take a couple of months. It really depends. So you're in a really tight spot there. So I think more and more people became much smarter in that regard, where they know now that, oh, okay, that happened before. I don't want to happen again. So we need to figure out how to get at least 3 different acquirers on our side. We can split the volume. We can mitigate the risks. We can just have uh, more leverage whenever we're discussing with different PSPs as well.
So not all issues require a new PSP.
We need to start with the data.
Yeah.
Look into the data and then decide if you need to add somebody else. But then again, from the get-go, you need at least 2 different, let's say, acquirers.
So let's talk metrics. Merchants obsess over fees, but what metrics actually matter? Is there anything that we should stop obsessing about?
I think we should stop obsessing about blended approval rates, where you'll see those fancy PDF files being sent to you as a merchant that will say, we have more than 90% approval rates. Like, okay, but where? Which banks? Which markets? Is it mobile? Is it desktop? What time of the day? Like, there's so many different factors that goes into a blended rate. If you're just looking at the blended rate, you can have a, I don't know, 85, 90% approval rate, but then you can have all sections that are performing at like 50 or 60%. And you'll never know that if you don't go into the specific bins. And getting the bin data is extremely important. And I have a lot to say about the bin data, but that might be for a different time. But I think we should stop obsess like the blended approval rates, and we should start digging down to the actual data. Um, and we should also stop obsessing about just the basic level of commercials, like MDRs, fees, just the basic level of that. I don't think there is a huge difference between like if you were able to negotiate 0.5 lower MDR, if it's again, if it's not IC++, it's just the regular blend MDR. Even if you lower it by 0.5, but then your approval rates are like 3% lower or 5% lower, it doesn't make any difference. Like, it's way worse. So I don't think we should obsess about the basic fees, and we should start obsessing more about the performance of the actual solution than the fees. And then I don't think we should obsess over how many different payment methods there is on a cashier. Because I've seen a lot of competitors when I was on the merchant side where they'll have like, you know, 8, 9, 10 different methods. I need to scroll through all the methods. And there's something that is called, uh, well, I call it method fatigue, where the client will only focus on the first maybe 1 to 3, which are usually on the top of, they should be on the top of the cashier, because below the, maybe after the first or second scroll, nobody will go there. It's just gonna be the first 3 that they're gonna see, and they'll focus on those. So how many different payments you have on a specific market, it doesn't really matter if you don't have the ones that actually convert, the ones that the local population is using.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree with that. I also love the blended approval rates. It's crazy thing, you know. Brazil is 55% winning everything. It's your main market, but they give you blended. Yeah, crazy. You've helped operators enter markets from Latam to India. What's the most underestimated challenge when entering a new geo?
Understanding the clients, the end users. I think that's the most underestimated one, because what I've seen with a lot of competitors in the past is that they will just go and just do a semi-okay job of translating the language, and a lot of them have been using Google Translate, and I've verified that with local speakers in different countries. Just putting a translated piece of information on a page and just translating a couple of buttons doesn't make it local. Um, they would really need to understand how the local players react. What is their usual way of depositing? What are their triggers? How would they go about the deposit itself? And operators also need to understand that whenever they go to a PSP and the PSP says, "Okay, we have the top three methods in India or I don't know Malaysia or Vietnam or whatever," uh, that's not job done. That's just the very tip of the iceberg. Then they need to go and look into more of the UX. What is the exact UX of this specific method that they would like to use? Get a really good translator. Don't do don't do Google Translate. Just pay for somebody to translate to a local language because there is a lot of things that we might not understand in those Asian languages. For example, um, they would also, I would say, they would need to go even deeper and figure out more and more, just dig into the data and figure out, for example, when the users will get their salaries. What is the peak time throughout the day? Meaning when is lunchtime, when is dinner time, just to figure out when clients will be depositing more, just for the sake of discussing that with their PSPs, not have maintenances, because we know that all the PSPs have specific maintenances or some specific methods. I know for a fact local methods in Asia have maintenance times, just to make sure it's not throughout that specific peak time. So there's a lot of things that they need to consider, but yeah, main ones would be make sure the UX makes sense for local people and don't just do generic translations.
That's brilliant. The salary intake is something that nobody talks about. Svilen, that was packed with value. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to do this. We really appreciate it.
Hopefully, we can do that again down the line.
Perfect. Thanks. Our first episode in the movie video format comes to an end. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.